Hi, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. So, this is the third in a series that we're talking about, but you can go back and watch the other two later if you haven't. The first one is called How to Heal the Root When You Don't Like the Fruit, and that's really what we're talking about throughout the week, but we're talking about different aspects of that. And then the second one was about what if you're trying to rely on God, yet you're still failing. So today, what we're going to talk about is it possible for the enemy to have an influence over believers? Because I brought up a little bit in that last video, how if we're doing our very best to rely on God, we're praying, fasting, crying out, but we're still struggling, that we have done something that's given the enemy a way to get in and do something in our life. So we're going to talk today about, is that possible? Because a lot of people believe that once you're saved and filled with the Spirit, that the enemy can't have anything to do with you anymore. So let's go into that a little bit in Scripture and talk about if that really is true. And before we get there, make sure that you click on the subscribe button. And then after we watch this, if you haven't, go back and see those first two, because it'll help this one make a little bit more sense. So let's go into it, okay? So in Ephesians, Paul is talking to the church at Ephesus. So the church at Ephesus, he's talking to believers. And at the very beginning of the book of Ephesus, he talks about how when we used to be unbelievers, we were basically controlled completely, tossed to and fro by the enemy because he works in those who are disobedient. And so if you keep reading through there, for the first little while, it talks about what we've been set free from, that we don't have to anymore be controlled by him. But then we get to the later part where he says, so the whole book of Ephesus is a book written by one person to one group of people. So you have to take it in context, okay? So let me jump there and say that first. If you are not reading his word in context, if you're just taking one verse here and one verse there without reading where it is in the middle of it, you're going to miss the beauty and the fullness of the word. So make sure that when you're reading Ephesians, you go from the beginning to the end, so you get the whole thing, okay? Because it's not going to make sense if it's not in context. So at the beginning, we're told that the enemy's working in the sons of disobedience. And then we're told that we're not that anymore. That's not who we are anymore. But then as you move on in chapters 3, in the beginning of 4, it says, so since you are now believers, since you now know the truth, then don't walk anymore the way you used to walk. Because of this, don't do this. So that's why we obey, right? Because we are saved, we obey his word. Because he's done this amazing thing to translate us from death to life. Now we love him so much that we live a different way. But are any of you perfect? Have any of you never lost your temper? Have any of you never told a lie, never been greedy, never felt bitter, never felt frustrated with anyone, right? Those things try to sneak in on us, and we have to be aware and we have to be alert day and night. So Revelation tells us that Satan is accusing us before the throne day and night. So he stands there day and night accusing you before the throne. We're also told that he goes around seeking who he may devour. Now, if he's already working in the children of disobedience, why would he have to seek for those he can devour, right? He's looking for believers who are not walking in the new way that they know. He's looking for ways to get a hold of us and capture us and then be able to go to the Father and accuse us. Now, we do have authority over him. Luke 10:17-19 says that we have authority over all the power of the evil one. But if in Ephesians 4, we're told, in Ephesians 4:22, we're told that if we do certain things, that we let the enemy in. We open the door just a little bit so he can stick his foot in there and he gets a foothold. Then he comes in and he presses us until we keep acting in a certain way that we don't want to act. Okay, so he's definitely talking to believers. Okay, and so we know that if Satan can get a foothold in where believers are concerned, then we know that he has the ability to get in if we give him that right. There's a verse that says that we can't receive an undeserved curse. It's in Proverbs 26:2. So if there's been something working in your life, then that curse or that a curse is basically something that's been put on you to make you continue to walk in a certain way. That's really what a curse is, same as a blessing. A blessing is a good thing that's been said or put over you or set in place for you that helps you to walk in a certain way. And a curse does the opposite. It helps you walk in the wrong way, makes you walk in the wrong way. Now, a curse is usually undeserved if we're acting the way we're supposed to be acting. But if we are choosing to continue to walk in ways that we used to walk before we were believers, or that we've been told not to walk, we've never really changed, we've never really made a choice not to walk in that way, then the curse is then deserved. So if you know the enemy is pressing you on all sides, and if you still can't walk in the fruit of the Spirit, even though you've been filled with the Spirit, if you are held in a behavior that you hate, but you just can't change, then you have allowed a foothold for the enemy to come in. And now the time is to find the root. We have to find the root cause, the situation where you've disobeyed, or maybe even been hurt by somebody else, which has caused emotions to rise up in you and you haven't dealt with those emotions correctly. Then that's allowed the enemy a foothold or an opening to come in and to press you on every side. So we're going to talk about next time how to find the root issue that has allowed the enemy to come in and to press you on every side. We're going to talk about some different options that we have to look into figuring out if I'm acting this way, then I can figure out where the enemy's been allowed in and what to do about it. Okay, so we know that we have authority over the power of the enemy, but if you have been disobeying in any way, even things that you don't think of as disobedience, for example, bitterness, slander, have you spoken unkindly about someone? Is there someone you haven't forgiven? Have you judged? Even judging yourself. Even if you didn't think it was wrong. It's, sin isn't based on our interpretation of right and wrong. Sin is based on God's interpretation and what he's set up as right and wrong. And so if you're disobeying what God says, regardless of how you feel about it, then you've given the enemy a foothold. So next time, we're going to talk about finding the root, how to get to the root and what to do about it, how to get that root pulled out of there and how to make a change so that you can start walking in freedom. All right. Thank you for coming back. Remember to hit the subscribe button. Remember to comment. I love reading your comments. If there's anything you need to talk about, specific questions you might have, or just an encouragement, go ahead and pop it in there. Have a great day.